everyone sees me and associates me with a uniform, right?
Right.
And or 10 different uniforms, whichever one you pick, right? And so it's stripping that back, not taking that away, but it's stripping it back and saying, hey, like I love clothes and food and wine and travel, and I find it amazing that people are shocked by that. They're like, oh, I thought you only love baseball. We love other shit, you know. So if you guys like this, I'm here to talk about it. It's just creating community.
Back back in the days growing up in Norwich, Connecticut, I saw you were the top high school prospect in the whole entire state, but you didn't get drafted.
You're
You
right. Yeah,
ended up at a great baseball school though, so you
you
got that
know,
going for you.
yeah, that's true. I was gonna say, there's about 10 guys that played baseball in Connecticut, so being one of 10 was pretty good. No, I know. It was, it's funny, and I actually know the guy who won Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Connecticut that year. His name's Matt Carasity. He's got some big league time as well. And I always joke with Matt. I'm like, how am I the number one ranked prospect, but you win Gatorade Player of the Year? I said that's some BS if I'm being honest.
You
But
should
no,
have got
it's
double duty on that one.
yeah, exactly. No, but yeah, it was one of those things that like you know, I was lucky enough to play in high school with and follow two guys that went and played professionally, played big time baseball in the ACC. There were a lot of people from my region that were actually making waves in the baseball world. So I got to kind of see the landscape play out, and I think I talked to a handful of pro scouts in high school, but it was never anything serious. I mean, I was all of 5'8", 165 pounds soaking wet, like so I
That's
was a
you were a
small kid.
prospect means you're projectable. I guess I thought you were going to go
Yeah,
into that. That's the
yeah.
difference between prospect of the year and player of the year.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So it was one of those things that like, I knew that if the opportunity came, that's awesome. It'd be something to think about, but ultimately college was the route.
And you had a great freshman year. At Clemson, you were drafted in the 16th round by the Mariners after a 3-year career there.
Yeah. I
What's your experience like at Clemson for you, man?
loved it. Um, Clemson for me was life changing. Not only socially, with I've got a good group of friends that I'm still in touch with now. What is it, 15 years later? We're all still really, really tight and good buddies. But also on the baseball side of things, it really catapulted me. It put me on the map. It showed that a little tiny, scrawny kid from the Northeast can pitch a little bit and pitch on the biggest stage. So I was lucky enough to have a lot of opportunities early on in my career. Pitching on Sundays as a freshman, pitching in a big super regional game, and then getting to pitch in Omaha. So um, it was a culmination of a little bit of luck, a little bit of right spot at the right time, and also just me working my ass off.
And after you got drafted, you went straight from the starting rotation to straight to the bullpen with the Mariners.
Yeah.
What is that transition? Was that discussed? Was that planned? Was it just kind of like how did that move from starting go to the bullpen?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of funny. I got drafted in 2012 and it was in June. So I was coming off of a season with Clemson where I had started. I'd thrown probably 80 plus innings or something like that. And so the Mariners brought me in and they said, "All right, you're going to go to short season and just pitch out of the bullpen for now, just kind of get your feet wet. We don't want to have you throw too much. But when you come into spring training next year, be ready to be a starter." During that summer, my velo ticked up out of the bullpen. I was 93, 95. Um, and I had really good numbers, and I guess I profiled better as a reliever. Um, and then I went home. I trained all offseason as a starter, getting ready for that. And I show up to spring training. They're like, yeah, all right, you're with the relievers today. And I'm like, all right, cool. Whatever. It didn't matter to
Today,
me.
okay.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, just today, or, in the grand scheme of things, it's like, would you have loved to be a starter? Sure. You definitely get a better paycheck, if you're successful, but,
That
at the end of the
move to the
day,
bullpen kind of it may have been what got you the big leagues pretty quick because you didn't spend a
yeah.
lot of time in the minors. So yeah, that might have been a quicker route for you with
Yeah, I was
Seattle.
gonna say it was definitely my fastest route, my fast track to the big leagues. Was just getting in the bullpen and letting it rip.
I always like hearing about guys' debuts. You started the season in the big leagues with Seattle.
Yeah, technically,
Okay,
we it was one of those things where like the AAA season started 2 days earlier than the big league season, and so I was up by game 3, I think, that year. So yeah, it was a full season.
were you expecting that when you got the call up, or were
No,
you
no. I'll be honest. That whole spring training, I literally hid in my locker. I'd fold my chair up, I'd put it in the empty locker next to me, and I would just sit in the literally in the back of the wood locker because I'm like, I don't want them to come around and tell me I've been cut.
right?
Um, and
If
I
they
would go
can't find
out.
me, I'm still here.
Exactly, right? So I would go out and, do my stuff for the day, come back in, and I'd hide. I made it until literally the very last day where it was, hey, pack your bags and we're going to, it was Oakland, to start the year. And I remember they called me in that early that morning. They're like, hey, we're going to make a decision. Come in early that morning. And I'm thinking, hell, I made it. Like I made the big league team. I couldn't believe it. I was a non-roster. And I was like, dude, I might have made it. And I show up, and of course the business side of baseball at the time, it was Jack Sorenzik. And I remember I walked into Lloyd McClendon's office, and Jack Z was there, and Jack Z looks me straight in the face and he says, "Hey man, hell of a spring. You did everything you possibly could do. We're gonna start you in AAA." And I was like, "Oh no."
It was a numbers game. Somebody might have had
Yeah,
options and whatnot.
exactly. I later, yeah, I later then found out that side of the business, but sure enough, it didn't take me long. It was a couple games, and I got my opportunity.
How was that?
It was crazy, crazy. I remember the call. I was in Tacoma early morning, and I got a call from our field coordinator, Chris Gwynn, and he says, "Hey, you need to get on a flight. You're going to Oakland. Games at 1 o'clock, and it was like 7 a.m. when he called me, and I'm like, crap. All right, I got to get to the airport. Let's go." um, but it was fun. Like, honestly, the nerves were not as bad as I thought. And I think because I was in spring training with that team, with that group for a really long time, that I walked into the clubhouse and everyone recognized me, everyone knew me, everyone knew who I was. Like, it wasn't a culture shock. Um, I walked right in and was like, all right, hell yeah, like let's go do this thing.
Like, I'm
Uh,
sorry I missed you guys for a week when I was in Tacoma, but here I'm
yeah,
back.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
I remember sitting down in the bullpen, not thinking anything of it, but was ready. At that point, you're a little puppy down there, man. You're biting at any chance you can to get in the bullpen and get in the game. And sure enough, they called my name, and I remember the first couple tosses in Oakland were a little nerve wracking, especially with the bullpen on the field. And I wish I had footage. I don't know if I airmailed a couple, but I probably did. Adrenaline was probably was flowing.
After a couple of successful seasons with Seattle, you got traded to the Diamondbacks. What's that like being involved in a trade? Did you get the
It was
feeling that like the Mariners didn't want me anymore? Oh shucks, or hey, the Diamondbacks want me, and they want
yeah.
me to be a part of their organization.
So it's funny. It's such a roller coaster of emotions, because when I got the call from, again, Jack Sorenzik with the Mariners telling me I got traded, I was in shock. I was not pitching well. I mean, I'll just be flat out. I'll be the first one to tell you I was not pitching well that year, and honestly, I thought he was calling to send me down. Um, he calls me, tells me, "Hey, thanks for everything. You're going to Arizona. You got like 8 hours to pack your stuff. They want you in Arizona tomorrow." So I'm like, holy crap, I've got an apartment, I've got everything, I got to pack my apartment all by myself and fly. So like the hectic, I mean, the craziness of that whole switch, jumps on you fast. And so at first it was like, yeah, like, damn, the Mariners, like, I thought I was going to be a Mariner for life, right? I was naive. I had no idea. Um, and sure enough, so I was kind of angry. I was mad. I was like, damn, I love Seattle. And then, I got on the phone with Dave Stewart, the GM of the Diamondbacks at the time, and Dave, was telling me how much, they love me and they love my stuff. And so then you kind of go from the dip of being angry and sad to, oh, I'm pumped because now this team really wants me. And um, it really is just a roller coaster on all levels, mentally, emotionally, physically. Um, it's hard for a lot of people to transition through that.
You experienced that. Let me count here. How many organizations? 4, 8, 10 plus,
10
plus
over,
Texas, right?
yeah, yeah, I was gonna say 10 with Texas, 10
10 with Texas.
over,
Okay.
10 different organizations. I hit the Mariners twice, so yeah, it's a lot of moving. A lot. I was gonna say that trade was definitely foreshadowing of my career. Yeah, after that 2014 season, I thought I was going to be there forever. And then sure enough, that's how fast the baseball world can flip you on your head.
I've been following your stuff, Dominic. And I was like, I like to talk to this guy. And then you posted your story of the 2018 season. I was like, I've got to talk to this guy.
Okay, here we go. Okay, I told y'all I was going to save 2018 for another video, and so here it is. I got hurt in May of that year. We ended up finding out it was a crazy nerve injury. I lost feeling in my arm completely. It was a couple things happened after that. Number one, I had a major mental breakdown. Mental health is a real thing, and it's something that a lot of guys go through. And the reason why I feel confident enough to tell this story now is because I know that I am not the only one. Definitely one of the hardest moments of my life, having to deal with the mental anxiety and the depression and the worry and the wonder if I'll ever come back. But also just it ran much deeper than baseball. So I had this mental breakdown where I literally could not get out of bed. And I called my parents, I called my wife, and I was just begging for them to come out to be with me. And I needed somebody to be around. I was really worried for my well-being. I was worried that I was going to go even farther down the dark path. I thank God that my parents and my wife were able to drop what they were doing and fly out to me, and they got to me within 24 hours. I was just battling some demons that I had no idea were even there. I remember specifically, they took me to breakfast one morning, and I was crying, ordering my eggs and bacon. I felt so awkward. I felt so anxious. I felt so just depressed to be in general public. I mean, I literally couldn't even order a standard American breakfast. I was literally sobbing in tears at the restaurant. Part of it was obviously fear for the injury. I hadn't been injured in my career, so I didn't really know how to handle that stuff. But also, I think it's just life. I mean, life in general and playing baseball, the pressure of the game and the pressure of everything to make a living, it's all real. I mean, just because I played baseball or because I was in the big leagues doesn't mean I was immune to real life trouble and real life problems. And so it was hard for me to wrap my brain around it. And honestly, it lasted for a very, very, very long time. To be honest, I still don't know if I'm completely out of it.
Yeah.
So 2018, you started your season with St. Louis, and you struggled and spent some time on the 60-day DL. What's that like going from a big league bullpen to 60-day DL? You're not part of the team anymore
Well,
currently.
yeah, just again, you want to talk about a roller coaster, and definitely a roller coaster physically and emotionally, again, and mentally. I know I like I said, I talked about it on my Instagram, but that's just really scratching the surface. I mean, that type of stuff is always hard to put into words, put into layman's terms for people. But the struggle was real. I pitched a lot that first month of the year in 2018. Um, and then it was like, yeah, I kind of got demoted out of the back end role. And then beginning of May, I get hurt. I throw in a game, and I literally feel like my bicep is ripping out of my arm. And so I didn't know what the injury was. The doctors and everybody didn't really know. It was just like, okay, we're immediately shutting them down. And then I think what made everything so much worse is just the unknown of the injury. I went home that night and was, obviously pissed and panicked and stressed. And I'm sitting at my apartment, and all of a sudden my arm is going numb, and I can't stop it. And I'm like, what what the hell's going on? I literally, I could not feel my fingers. I couldn't feel my arm. It was like, holy shit, do I need to go to the hospital? Like,
Right.
I freaked
About having
out.
a
And
stroke. I mean, that's a symptom of a
yeah,
stroke, right?
yeah. So I really didn't know. It took a really long time. And again, through that whole process, it was the first time I've been hurt. I'm in a new city. My family's not out there with me. Um, I wanted to pitch. I wanted to, make a good impression on this organization. And again, they traded for me. So there's a lot of pressure. And, that's when I think the mental side of the game really just kind of kicked the door down. And, when it does it, it doesn't go away. It's there, and it's a game of failure. And that's what they always tell you, right? It's a game of failure. Well, it's true that failure can kind of eat you alive. And
The
that
only thing worse than the
2018 was,
failure is got to be on the disabled list.
yeah,
And
exactly. So, you're at the yard. Even when you show up to the yard, it's empty. Thank God I had Adam Wainwright there. Thank God I wasn't just there by myself. And obviously you never wish for anybody else to be hurt, but Wayno was struggling with his own, injury. And um, thank God he was there, because if I didn't have anybody else, man, it would have been really tough.
one of the guys I talked to, Scott Spezia, if you're familiar with his story,
Yeah.
his problems, alcoholism and cocaine addiction, started when he hurt his back and he was on DL. He was with a new team, didn't have any relationship with the guys there, didn't have any real friends, and then he's ripped away from the team, and that led to a downward spiral. How did you cope? I mean, besides having you had Bueno there, but did you
Yeah. I
drink a
honestly,
little
that,
extra red wine while you were on the deal than you did before?
yeah, look, that's the thing. I always love to enjoy the red wine, but no, I didn't get in any bad habits like that. It just, honestly, it was hard for me to get up out of bed. I really shut myself off from the world. I wouldn't get on social media. I was barely watching TV. Like, I would just sit in silence. My brain was just working overtime, just thinking of all the worst things in the world. And so I, honestly, coping was going to the ballpark and doing my rehab with, like I said, with Wayno, right? And talking to Wayno about life. If you follow Adam Wainwright at all, like, he's a, man of faith, family, great guy. I mean, just a genuinely nice human being. And just talking to him about life, not only baseball but just everything, I think I started to kind of come out of my funk a little bit. And and the other part too is seeing somebody that's always so positive like Adam. I learned that very quickly. Seeing him be so down, with his own recovery.
Like he's a sad puppy, and you feel like it's your job to pick him up now. It kind of gives you a purpose.
Exactly. So I said, you don't even realize the crater that you're pulling me out of. I need to do whatever I can to help him. And so we bonded over that. And it really kind of catapulted both of us.
That's great, man. Gave you a sense of purpose. That got you healthy and got you back on the field for another 6 major league seasons. You you announced your retirement via Instagram on October 26, 2024. What led you to that decision? And did you have a plan for when that day came? What was going to be your next step?
So I'll answer the second part first. Did I have a plan? Absolutely not. I knew, kind of going into the middle of that 24 season, right about when I got hurt again, I knew I was like, man, I'm gutting games out. I don't feel like I'm at my best. I'm working my ass off. I'm trying to just stay afloat, right? And then it was that White Sox season that was miserable, record wise. Because again, I can't. I would be lying if I said it was, hell going to the ballpark every day. I mean, yeah, it sucked when we went there and lost, but the guys were in there were great. I mean, the coaching staff was great. We were all pushing in the right direction. Good people. We just couldn't get the damn job done. Um, but so I knew when I got hurt, I said, damn, I got to start, maybe evaluating where I'm at in my career. And, the game was changing. Analytics is huge. Everyone's throwing 110. It's like, where do I go from here? And um, it was kind of an easy decision. I came back from my rehab in August, and I had a couple like games in a row where I was like, "Oh, I feel normal. I feel fine." Um, and then it immediately came back, elbow killing me, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gutting through this. If I can gut through this and get to the end of the season, we'll figure it out. Like we'll keep rolling. We'll keep this train rolling. Um, and literally I threw a pitch, 3-2 pitch. I thought it was Juan Soto. Maybe I'm just telling myself that to make the story sound cooler, but it's Gleyber Torres, so it's not a bad a
Right.
bad another
It's a
bad
cool
hitter.
story for the kids either way. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it's a 3-2 pitch. We're at home against the Yankees, who I pitched really well against in my career, and I have a stinker of an outing. 3-2 pitch. I walk Glaber. I slip on the mound. The ball's not even close. I slip and I'm on one knee and my arm is just writhing in pain. And like it's almost like a cinematic moment. Like if there would be a slow mo or
Yeah.
whatever,
The
I could
music
just feel.
plays.
Yeah, I could feel it was over. Um, I remember staring into the dirt on the mound, and I'm just like, this is it. Like um, it's hard to describe and put into words, but you just know.
Felt it in your gut.
I felt it in my gut. Like again, I've had two injuries before, not even one and a half injuries before, but I knew that this injury was serious. I probably thought it was Tommy John, and sure enough, I was like, well, odds are stacked against me. I said, I think this is it. So I walked off the mound and had a lot of emotions the rest of that evening. Like I said, just kind of knew it was over.
A question for you, man. It's just been over just a year. The question might sound silly, but it also might make sense. Have you had a chance or opportunity to celebrate your career?
I've never been a good one to celebrate my career. Um, and that's not to say I'm like the most humble dude in the world, but I just um
Have you had a
I,
chance to sit back by yourself with when there's your wonderful glasses of red wine and say, "Damn, 11-year big league career.
no, I
I
mean
deserve
I've
to
had I've
enjoy
had
this."
moments. Yeah, I've had moments. I'm sitting in my in what is now my kid's playroom, but it's got all my memorabilia and stuff. And when I sit up here, and I sip a glass of red wine and I look at the things that I have, the memorabilia I have, and the players I played with, yeah, I get a little nostalgic and but I haven't fully dove into it. You know, it is crazy that it's been a year. Like it feels longer, but then at times it feels like I just got done yesterday. So I don't know. I don't know when that time will come where I'll, truly, roll out the red carpet at my own house and celebrate,
You should,
you know,
man. I feel like it's an important thing for closure.
have my
I'm not an
retirement
expert
tour.
on the topic, but I've talked to some guys where they're like, I finally had a moment where I was in the garage with my dad and we were chatting. And I realized, damn, I had a big league career and I earned it. I worked my ass off for that. I deserve I deserve to be a big leaguer.
Yeah, I'm definitely proud, and I'm actually the most exciting thing is back to the kids. It's like I'm excited to share and reflect on it with them when they start to understand the game, or if they start to understand, oh, hey, Dad's got like 10 different jerseys on the wall. Like what the hell are these, when they start asking questions, it'll get me excited to give them the answers and give them the history and all of those experiences. So that'll be fun. Again, I don't know. Part of it was I didn't know what I was going to do with my career. I didn't know if I was going to try again or if I was going to keep, staying coaching or whatever. And I really still don't. So I guess that chapter is not completely closed, but I do know, I think playing is the playing is over. Um, I don't know if Major League Baseball is done with me or if I'm done with it, but we'll see, I guess, going forward. And then I'll be able to celebrate.
You keep your options open. Right, I got you. Keep your options open for that, and see how. All right, so Mr. Dominic Leone, I need you to teach me something. I'm sad to say this is something that I don't know much about. I should know
Okay.
more about it, and I'm going to ask you to teach me more. Tell me about men's clothing.
Hey, I'll tell you what. For a
You
for a
seem to
chunk
know something.
for a chunky Italian meatball, I can dress all right. Okay, I look okay. No, look, it's something that I've always been interested in. I certainly am not the most fashionable guy. I seem to dabble in a lot of different areas. So it's like fashion. I did wine. I do watches, cars, thing. I mean, like I've found interests in a lot of different things, and I like to try and look good. Hey, I had to try and do something to impress my wife. So, looking good, dressing nice, hey, I'm trying here. So, um, no, it was one of those things that, I don't know. Um, I don't know where it came from or why it came, but I like talking clothes. I like finding good value. I like finding good quality. I don't need all the designer stuff, but like, just looking nice, uh, look good, feel good, play good, right? That's what they
and
always say, and
you're spreading that knowledge to it's big league brands.
it's just a social media idea that I came up with, kind of on the fly, and I'm like, hey man, I want to talk about clothes and stuff that guys wear in the big leagues and what I wore, and yeah, and it's just again going back, it's everyone sees me and associates me with a uniform, right? And or 10 different uniforms, whichever one you pick, right? And so it's stripping that back, not taking that away, but it's stripping it back and saying, hey, like I love clothes and food and wine and travel and and people are like, I find it amazing that people are shocked by that. They're like, oh, I thought you only loved baseball. It's like, no, like honestly, everybody. You talk to all 25 guys, all 26 guys in the clubhouse, and some guys are brainiacs, and they're getting degrees during their playing days, and guys are big into fashion and big
Or
into
golf or fishing or
golf, or
the
yeah. I
two.
mean, we have other things that we love other than baseball, and so that's kind of the main one of the main reasons I got into social media is like bring and by no means do I feel I was on some crazy pedestal of Major League Baseball, like where people are following me. Oh my God. But it's like, hey, I did it for a really, really long time. And so people know me for that, but it's like I'm bringing a little bit of inside information to the world of like, hey, this is we love other shit, you know. So if you guys like this, I'm here to talk about it.
It's cool.
Teach me, learn. I mean, it's just creating community. I think that way.
It helps. You lose the identity everybody talks about when you retire from professional baseball. You have a different identity now.
Yeah,
It's not. It's not.
right.
It's not lost. It's just got a different one now.
Exactly.
I'll be honest with you. I thought just from scrolling through your stuff that was just kind of like a storefront. Like I click on your link, you get 10% of whatever I buy, whatever. It's just an actual passion of yours. You're just teaching.
It's something I talk about now. There is there is the link side of things where you can get stuff, but and I'm exploring that whole side of it too. But honestly, like me deciding to create the content is just like, hey, like it's something I want to talk about. It's something that you know what else am I gonna do? I'm gonna mow my lawn 15 times a day. Like I got to talk about other stuff, and I finally built up the courage to talk and express myself on social media, and so I said, hell, I gotta talk about everything I like.
I absolutely. I love your stuff, and I will share and will continue to share as much
Appreciate
as
that.
you put out there because I think it's great, and I think it's fun for you. And it is fun for the people who know you from uh, Arizona and just kind of like, oh, this guy has a personality. First of all, I didn't
Right,
know that.
right, exactly.
I knew him as a name in the box score.
It's funny because it's like the teams that I was good on, they saw my personality more, right? Because the team interviews you and you do fun, stupid, silly things. Like Toronto fans and Mariner fans and Giants fans, they know a little bit more about my personality. It's like the D-backs fans who, I was terrible when I was there. Like, maybe they hear some stories and they go, oh, he's not that bad of a guy. He stunk on the mound, but
Okay.
he's kind of funny, like,
I kind of feel bad for burning his jersey.
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Just a little bit. Yeah.
A couple of standard questions I like to ask everybody. Now, if you could go back in time, you had a magical telephone, and you had some advice to tell yourself when you were 18 years old, straight out of high school, top prospect of the state of Connecticut, about to walk on the baseball field at Clemson University, and hope to be a professional baseball player. What do you wish you knew at 18 years old that you don't know, that you know now?
It's a
Long
great
time ago, and
question.
you've had a long time as a professional baseball player.
Yeah,
Hopefully, you've learned a lot.
that's a great question, but I think the number one thing I would tell my younger self is, um, ignore the noise, ignore the business, and ignore the noise. Right? Back when I was coming into college, um, like Twitter and all that stuff wasn't even a thing. So social media really blossomed as I was in college, first couple years of pro ball, and I'll be honest, like my Arizona days were brutal because I was on Twitter and I would be getting crushed on Twitter. Bad outings, whatever. I'd be getting crushed, and I let some of that creep in. I let some of the noise and stuff creep in, and again, as social media evolved, like it got even worse, and things can get kind of crazy and hairy. And I say that now as I'm on social media, and I'm trying to be a social media personality, but um, definitely ignore the noise and ignore the business. Just understand that the game is the game, right? Focus on what you can in between the white lines. I sometimes let the thought of arbitration or contract negotiations or this or that kind of get in the way. Just kind of cloud my vision of where I wanted my career to end up a little bit. And um, that's not to say it's not good to understand that stuff. It is. It's very important, and I highly suggest that players do take a role in their own kind of business side of things. But um, I think at the end of the day, you have to just remember what you do, what you can control what you control, right? Focus on what you do from 60 feet 6 inches, and make sure that that is perfect every time. That's what I did growing up. That's how I played high school baseball. That's how I played college baseball. You know, it, that's how I played a lot of my time in the pros. Um, but there were times where my mind was elsewhere, and I let that kind of killer mentality get away. And that's the difference between guys like Jordan, Brady, Kobe Bryant, Mike Trout. Th- those guys have a different wavelength where no matter what, their opportunity on the field is going to be capitalized on, and their mental is always locked in. For me, I lasted a lot longer than I probably thought I would in this game, and a lot of that is attributed to my mental focus and my mental strength. Um, but there were definitely times. So I would tell myself to just make sure you're focused, you're locked in, um, mentally, because that'll take care of the physical side. If you're mentally locked in, you'll go work out. You'll do, you'll read the extra scouting report. You'll study hitters. Um, for me, I think at very small times I lost that, but it ended up, making, I guess you could call it a big gap. I mean, if you want to make from 8 years and 133 days to 10 years, that's it's a lot of days that you got to make up, and I think if I focused a little bit longer, I might have hit that 10-year mark.
Yeah, great career. And what you just described is the difference between the career that you had, 8 years and X amount of days, whatever, over somebody who has a great arm and pitches 9 innings in big leagues over 3 years and they're done. There's
Right.
that mental side of the game of being
Yep.
able to handle that. That's lots of great brains have better careers than great arms.
Yes, 100%. I've seen, and this is no discredit to anybody I played with, but I have seen hundreds of guys with way better physical stuff than I had. Way better. Thousands of guys. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, I'm a 5'10", now I'm 230, but I was, 5'10", 210-pound right-hander who threw, 95, 96. I mean, that's stock nowadays, um, but I wasn't overwhelmingly big. I wasn't intimidating. I wasn't, the strongest guy, the fastest guy. It was between the years. Between the years, I had that mentality that, if you got in the box, you were done. It was
And
over.
the preparation physically, like you said, scouting reports. Some guys have all these tools at their disposal and think they're worth millions of bucks, and then they're not.
That's it.
Flip to that question, and I like to ask this question, kind of a stock question, but with you it might be a little difficult because you've been out of the game for a year. Now, that same question, but you have a magic phone call to call 32-year-old you in 2024, going through that process of I'm going to retire from baseball at the end of the season. Is there anything that you wish you knew at that time that you know now to prepare yourself for the next stage?
Oh man.
It's only been a year.
Yeah, I know. I would say just pack your patience. Pack your patience. Let me explain myself. Right? Pack your patience means, you know, going from a big league career where um, mom has the kids most of the time, and you're away, you're traveling, you're off doing your own thing. Mom is at home with the kids, right? I never really had time to grasp onto being a full-time dad and understanding the insanity that parenting is. So, so when I got home for my first, I mean, literally for my first calendar year um, that I've ever had at home with my family, uh, there were a lot of ups and downs. Like my patience was not there for um,
How old are your kids right now?
uh, the four and just turned three. So yeah, so it's like I was not mentally prepared for that. I didn't know I wasn't physically prepared for it. The early morning wake ups and all the things. And so I would tell myself now, it's like, hey dude, you think this playing thing's hard.
Right.
You think this playing
At
thing's
least you
hard.
at least you walk away from the ballpark at certain times.
Yeah,
Now,
right.
it's a full time
Exactly.
is full time, bud.
I was gonna say you are, with two kids, it's my wife and I, and so we are man to man all the time. You are always in coverage, man. You're always going at it. So it's yeah, pack your patience because they're gonna test you. They're gonna love you, and you're gonna love them. But you got to pack your patience and be willing to just learn.
I went from last spring. I was working like 70 hours a week, and it just got ridiculous. Changed jobs. I got down to 40 hours a week, and my wife graduated, and she took a well-paying job. And now
Nice,
since August, September, I work on weekends. I work 18 hours, 16, 18 hours a week, and
good for you.
I'm dad Monday through Friday, and I can
Love that.
relate a lot to that. Yeah, it's the best thing in the world. And I went from the dad, maybe the same thing. I went from the dad like, oh, these kids need a little discipline, kind of. I'm exaggerating. These kids need a dad who's disciplined. To now,
Yeah,
I've gone flipping through Instagram like, oh, babe, this says that the kids need patience and blah 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 and understanding, and that we need to say things like this, not like this. I've gone from the strict dad to the soft mom. It's
but
part of
it's
it. It's
more. It's
it's something that you're passionate about. You want to learn about it and do better.
Right. Well, it's like I said, it's more about like you have your idea of what parenting is. You have your structure in your head, and then you get into it, and it's like, nope, complete 180. Like you are so wrong. And now it's like, all right, well, I gotta, yeah, you're passionate about it. You gotta learn. You gotta roll with the punches.
It's easy to be an armchair quarterback when mom's doing it, but when they put you on
Yeah,
the field, it's like,
exactly.
yeah, I get it. Mr. Dominic Leone, man, I appreciate talking to you, and I enjoy following you, and I can't wait to see where you're growing in your social media baseball afterlife. It's fun to follow. But man, I appreciate your time, and anytime you ever want to chat about anything you got something to share, I would gladly help you share that.
Sure, man. I appreciate you having me on. It was a blast. Always good to chat. Always good to talk about crazy stuff, crazy life.
Yeah, it is definitely. Baseball is a fun thing, and it's a fun lifestyle.
No doubt. No doubt. And it goes deeper than just baseball. It goes into anything that he wants to do in life, and anything that he wants to achieve. We've talked about it already a little bit on the podcast, where mentality can go farther than physical talent, right? So he's a big kid. He's everyone's telling him how great he is, right? And nowadays, there are so many different organizations and groups and businesses that try and tell you, hey, do this and you'll get to the big leagues, or hey, do this and you'll reach the highest level, and do this and you'll reach. The one thing that I will toot my own horn on is I studied the greats. I was lucky to grow up in New England, and I was a Patriots fan growing up. So I saw a couple bad years, and then the dynasty,
Yeah,
and
that.
I was so obsessed with Brady and his story and how he overcame adversity and how he worked and how he grinded. And maybe that was easier for me because I was a smaller dude. I always wanted to prove people wrong. I always kept that chip on my shoulder. Tiger Woods, how he was obsessed with golf from day one. Obsessed, literally, like bleeding, hands bleeding from hitting balls. Michael Jordan, his killer instinct, his determination, getting cut in high school. It's like I studied those stories. I followed those idols, those athletes, um, and I found that the common denominator is just an obsession, a pure sick obsession, to be the best, and not just physically. Yes, like you did the physical things, you worked out, you put in the hours, but it was here, and you have to be sick here. You have to be willing to give up hey, all of our buddies are going to, the Whataburger at 9 o'clock, and you know what I'm saying? Like going to, McDonald's at 10 o'clock. And it's like, you got to give that up. And because you've got to get your sleep, or you've got to watch, nowadays, high school kids are watching film. I mean, it's incredible, but like, there is always an edge to be had. And it starts here. And if you can master that, and if you can make that mental sacrifice of knowing that the game is all you are going to focus on. It's how do I get better each and every day? How do I improve myself each day? Some days you'll wake up and you'll go, damn, I feel like shit, and I'm gonna do 10 push-ups today. Why? Because 10 push-ups is more than I would have done if I just sat on my couch and played video games, right? So that's a long-winded way to say, you have to be mentally sick,
Sick.
mentally
That's the word you use.
obsessed,
I love it. Sick. Yes.
mentally sick. And if you're not, that's fine. You can still, view it as a passion. You can still view, and you can still go far. It's not to say, you know, it's an end all be all, but um, it's to me that mastering your mental and being as mentally just sick and obsessed with your whatever it is you want to accomplish, that's going to take you farther than any physical skill you have.